Right, hi guys. Just want to do a video, sort of a lead into another one that I'll be doing soon. And this video is about how I got started in volunteering, and some of the things that happened to get me where I am today. And that's going to be sort of a lead into another video I'm going to do, and that video is going to be what I'll be doing with my friend Phil from the next 72 hours. I was in Cambodia on holiday, walking through, it was actually a pretty crappy part of the local area, and a girl came off her scooter, hit something on the road, the bike lost traction, and she basically had a really bad crash. But there were a lot of people there who didn't know what to do, were standing around just looking locals, standing around looking on. So I got involved with that. Had unknown injuries, I don't know what they were. I suspect that she had a broken jaw, she had internal injuries, she's definitely in shock. She didn't speak English, she spoke Cambodian. And during that time I was trying to fend people off. I had one, I don't know whether she just didn't know any better or was slightly mad, one woman who seemed determined that she, by rubbing some ointment under the bottom of this woman's nose, everything would be right, and putting her cigarettes on her chest, and wouldn't go away. Lots of people just standing around, just looking, not doing anything. It was quite hard for me to find someone who spoke English to get them to call an ambulance. Eventually the ambulance arrived. It was basically a little, it's sort of like a high-ace van, like a family people mover type thing. First thing they did was just take her helmet off and throw it away, where I tried to stop everyone taking her helmet off, because who knows what injury she had. Put her on a basic stretcher, throw her into the back of this van and drive off. And it really was a van. I mean, I think it had ambulance written on the side, but when you opened it up, it was just a van, right? With a flat floor in it. She was thrown in and they drove off. And what I was told by some of the expats living there, that she probably would have survived, because over there, if the paramedics pick someone up and they die on the way to the hospital, the paramedics don't get paid, and obviously they've got a body to get rid of. So the fact that they actually did pick her up and put her into an ambulance meant that she had a good chance of living. Obviously after that I was quite shocked about the whole experience. But you sort of got to ask yourself a question: if something happened and no one was doing anything, are you the sort of person who's just going to stand there and not do anything and just watch? I'm not that sort of person. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try and help, definitely. And if I'm going to be that sort of person, the more skills I can get around first aid and around managing those situations, the better. And it scares crap out of me. It does, it scares the crap out of me. Because you're constantly thinking the whole time, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing something that's going to make this worse? And you sort of have to get over it. You have to say to yourself, well, this is better than not doing anything at all. Yeah. And so that was my first taste of really just being in that situation and realising that I could not do anything. I couldn't be the sort of person who went, oh, that looks really bad, and walk away. I first started volunteering with the Queensland floods, and yeah, that's when I started. I, like many people, decided to be a spontaneous volunteer. I had never done volunteering before. I didn't belong to any groups. I just picked up a whole lot of stuff that I had and hopped in my car and drove out and knocked on people's doors. I also had friends living there that I helped out with. So once I was sure that my family was going to be safe, I went out and did that. So I had some friends who were doing some preparations. I had a friend who was living by the river who wanted me to come out and help and move all this stuff and all this, and I actually refused. And the reason I refused was I wanted to make sure that I understood what was happening and that my family was safe, and that when I made a decision to go help other people, it wasn't the detriment of my family. Okay. So yeah, I just hopped in the car and drove out to places and knocked on people's doors and said, do you need any help? This is how I can help you. And if they didn't need help, or I couldn't help them, I went on to the next place. And a lot of people did that, a lot of people. And I think a lot of people got, I wouldn't say satisfaction, but they got a lot out of it, that felt that they were helping, and they really were, you know, in different ways. We had people giving out drinks at the back of cars, making sandwiches, you know, he just regular people. It's turning up with cleaning products, you know, buckets and mops and, you know, cleaner and bleach and stuff, and just trying to help people just get the mud and the crap. There's sewage in that stuff. It was just a thick, smelly, disgusting sludge that covered everything, and the water was deep in some places, really, really deep. Yeah. It's funny because I don't love people. I'm not the sort of person who thinks that everyone is special and everyone has their own calling if only they could find it. And we're all blessed. I'm the sort of person who, you know, I grew up in some pretty rough areas. I've seen some not nice things. I've seen some very not nice people. I don't think everyone's nice. I don't think everyone's special. Statistically speaking, 50% of people are below average. I don't love my neighbours, I don't speak to my neighbours. So I probably represent what a lot of people think about other people in the community. You know, I don't love people. But what I found through my volunteering, and to me what I realised is, that when you've got a disaster and it's serious, and people, you know, are at a level of despair, they really need help. You know, they really, really need help. That's when you've got to show compassion. You have to. I'm motivated to do that. And I think why it means so much to me is because when you talk with people like that, it's just them. It's raw emotion, right? They've lost their house, they've lost members of their family. You know, they're just scared, so scared that you know, whatever's happened is going to happen again, or they don't know what they're going to do. It's just raw. It's raw emotion. It's them. It's all stripped away, and it doesn't matter who you are, or where you're from, or how much money you got in the bank. It's all the same. And I just truly believe you have to have compassion with those people. You have to help them however you can. So I think that's what I get out of volunteering. That, you know, having been in those disaster things where just people just don't know what's going to happen, and it's raw emotion, and you're really dealing with people. And I think that's why it's so powerful. I think that's why people are quite emotional about it, and it affects them so much, because there's no games, there's no genders, there's no classes, there's nothing. There's just people who need help. What emotions do I feel? I don't know. Apprehension, I suppose. You know, something happens and you have no idea. You see things on television and you get their view, and it's often still the worst stuff, right? But they focus in on the worst events and the most damage and all the rest, and it's very hard for you to get an accurate picture of what the whole area is like. And so you really do have no idea what you're getting into. You don't know whether it's, you know, the really bad scenes you've seen on television is what everything's like. You know, everything's just destroyed and it's just, you know, hardcore. Or yeah, it's so apprehension is what I feel. This is the emotion I get. You don't know what you let yourself in for. You really don't. And I suppose now that I've done a few things, I suppose I've got less apprehension. Like when I went to Christchurch, I just had no idea what I was getting myself in for. None. And you tend to think the worst. And the media will let you think the worst, right? They'll play the worst clips and, you know, really, really terrible stuff. And give you all the stats. And, you know, I've had some conversations with people who, you know, physically haven't been hurt, but they have friends who have, obviously they're in a disaster situation where they could have been, and they realise they could have been a lot worse, especially where it's somewhere like Christchurch where it could happen again. You know, the earthquake we just had could happen again tomorrow, and there's lots of aftershocks just reminding you that it could happen. And like I say, just raw emotions, people who are just at the end of their tether, you know, just physical wrecks. For me, volunteering, I don't think is something that I will always do. Maybe. However, helping people out and getting involved and making sure that I can look after myself and my family, I'm always going to do. Whether that's wider community and volunteering emergency services like I am, and hopping on planes and flying to places that have problems. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, and it depends on where you are in your time in life and what commitments you've got and what you can do. But no, I don't think for the long term you can. And to a certain extent, it's a young man's game, right? Some of the stuff you're doing, I think it is.